I want to get away from the red card. I really do. But I feel we need to address it before I can get on with this video. It's ridiculous. And as much as I want to ignore it, when you've got things like the FA Premier League's official site tweeting about the red card, then Specsavers, if I can pop it up there, basically trolling them, then how else can we ignore it? I'm not going to go over, I spoke about it in the review, I will only be repeating myself, but it wasn't violent conduct. It really wasn't. I don't care also that Mitrovic might have apologised when it happened. After it happened, should I say. I don't care. He shouldn't have done it in the first place. And I also don't find it any sort of mitigation at all, that just because everybody cheats nowadays, it's some sort of excuse or reason why. No. You're allowed to feel hard done by that. I'm just really glad that in that game, it didn't cost us anything. Because let's be fair, we weren't going to go and get any points from that game anyway, and we didn't lose any. We got a point. I think we were lucky to get a point. Fulham were better. They were a better team, right? I'm sure you'll all agree. Will it impact us in games going forward? Well, we'll have to wait and see. It's pointless me talking for 10 minutes about whether or not it's going to be rescinded. We will find out soon enough. Let's just hope that whoever is in charge of such things can act quickly, because he's our top goal scorer, isn't he? That's how pivotal he is. It was only a couple of days ago, one video ago, whatever you want to call it, I was labelling him as potentially world-class goal-scoring midfielder. We're a lesser team without him, and we're not overly confident about what happens with the composition of the team when we need to replace somebody. In fact, which brings us on quite nicely to the other point, which was that there are two areas going into the latter second half of the season that were of concern to one and all. And that is obviously central midfield and striker, for obvious reasons on both. So what's David Moyes going to do now? I think it's fair for us to talk about both those without the worst case scenarios happening, because the suspicion is, at the moment, as things stand, Soucek has a ban and it's for 3 games. That may well be receded, it may not. But if it's not, we've got to plug a hole in the middle of central midfield. We have to assume as well, I think, that bearing in mind Antonio asked to come off, I don't know if that's actually international sign language for a substitution, but anyway, we'll go with it. We assume he asked to come off. He did come off, and he did sort of enter into a race with an opponent on the 72nd minute of the game, which he lost, and he pulled out. He basically pulled out of the race in essence, didn't he? A few people, Gio mentioned that he was holding his hamstring. I didn't see that. No reason to disbelieve him if he was. That's a worry. And so let's deal with the fact that Moyes has got 2 holes to fill in his team. And I'm so tempted to make you innuendo. I need help, basically. Moyes has got 2 positions with which to fill in his team. And he seemed confident enough after the transfer window that he could do that adequately. So this won't have been a surprise to Moyes. He's a meticulous planner. So what is it? What's his plan here? I sort of hope that the midfield one is not Mark Noble. I've got to say, not for any sort of length of time, because I do feel we lose a little bit of energy. I think Mark Noble is more than capable of coming in and playing almost a man of the match performance on the odd game. But 3 games in a row, I'm not happy about that. He's got to have something else up his sleeve. Now, against Aston Villa, we didn't see the fornicator. Poor old fornicator, been fornicating on his own. Actually, fornicating on your own is something very, very different. Begins with M and not F, of course. So he's been on his lonesome, entertaining himself, let's say. Came off the bench against Villa and didn't feature at all in this game. So he's got to be fit as a fiddle and raring to go. I do believe that is an option in central midfield for us. It has to be considered, really. So I think if it's a mixture of Noble and a mixture of Fornals, that's a really good thing. I think it does show up the folly a little bit of Josh Cullen. It's going to become Anderlecht captain now. So I think we lacked a little bit of foresight there. Would Moyes have played him? Would he have featured? I don't know, but I do think, bearing in mind, what do we get? A pittance for him. It's all relative, of course. 750 grand to you and I is not a pittance. We are sorted with 750 grand. But to a club like West Ham, then it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really swell the coffers that much. And we could have probably done better with the player. And I don't want to talk on this like there's doom and gloom. We have lost a game to Fulham. Sorry, having lost a game to Fulham. What's the matter? It feels like a loss because I'm just recording this after the game. We've drawn a game against Fulham. We could get through in the cup against Man U, and the world seems like a happy place. We win against Sheffield United, and it's all fine. So we're just talking about what we do about these couple of problem positions, which again may well be fine. I do wish we'd seen a little bit of Conor Coventry, who I know has been injured this season, but since he's coming back from injury, I'd love to have seen him involved in the squad a little bit. I think there's a good player there, and if you're not going to use these players at times like this, when are you going to use them? Which then brings us on to the striker, and because it was a little bit weird when I saw Yarmolenko come on, and I know I am against it, so I've got a little bit of confirmation bias. I don't think it'll work. So when Yarmolenko appears on the pitch as a centre forward, I am aware that I'm looking at that picture thinking, oh, I knew this wouldn't work. I'm looking for little things that may confirm what I already believe. So I'm trying to be open-minded on it. However, it doesn't seem to understand the offside trap or the offside law, as it seems, which is a bit of a hindrance when you're spearheading the attack. It's particularly a hindrance when you're the furthest forward in any team. And it just doesn't appear to have the sharpness at all. Not in that position. I actually think, whilst I don't think he's tremendously fast, Yarmolenko, I do think he's a sharp mover. I don't mean he's like John Travolta. I don't mean he's dancing Saturday Night Fever. I wasn't going to do the dancing. But he's quite a sharp mover. You know, I don't feel that's the case when he's playing as a striker. And I don't relish the thought of him playing there for any period of time whatsoever. So what is it? What's Moyes' plan here? Because he's going to need to do something. He really is going to need to do something here. He's talked about Jesse Lingard. Well, let's just say Antonio is injured for the Man United game. Jesse Lingard isn't an option for there because obviously he's cup tied. That's his Man United. And even if it wasn't, even if it was a league game with Man United are his parent club. That's a no-no. You're not allowed to do that. Which is a worry. Which means I think he would play Yarmolenko up there. That being said, Yarmolenko is perfectly capable of scoring a couple of goals as striker against anyone. I understand it, but it does not suit the way we play. I think there were two reasons for getting rid of Sebastian Haller. I think one of them was the style of play. One of them was because he didn't fit in with the group dynamic in terms of personality and whatnot. I've heard that enough times from enough different places for me to think it's probably the truth. But I do feel he was a hindrance to our style of play. For instance, take that Fulham game. I don't believe necessarily that Sebastian Haller would have made a huge difference in that game because it just felt that the midfield and the attacking players were not really up to standard on that one. I'd like to think he would choose Odebeko to... This is the problem. This is the problem with not giving Odebeko 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there. It's now doesn't seem to be an option. But I'd like to see him a little bit involved, certainly. The other option, maybe he's going to play Bowen there, something like maybe you play Ben Rama there. Whatever his, I say master plan, I don't mean it to be sarcastic, because I rate Moyes highly, and I think he's, you know, I wouldn't at all surprise me if he's got something very, very good up his sleeve. And I'm not in the mood to switch from absolute positivity to total abject negativity. That's not really it at all. I still think, you know, we're in the midst of a good season, and anything could happen. But these aren't pivotal games. These are crunch games. These are crucial positions that we're talking about here. So I would like to think he's got something very good up his sleeve, and maybe it is Ben Rama. Maybe that's where Ben Rama gets his first goal from. Talking about Ben Rama, I was surprised that he was taken off the pitch. Felt he was the only player that we had in our team that was carrying the ball to any effect. Felt it was the only player who was really going at the Fulham defence, and possibly the only one that was going to cause them any problems at all. So Could he play as a striker? I don't have him down as a striker. Would he do a job there? I don't know, but as we were speaking only a couple of days ago, Moyes does have a tendency to be able to turn wide players into strikers, but it always seems to me to be a sort of long-term project, and once he does it, they stay there. I don't know. I'm not sure that that's the case, but it's going to be very, very interesting, and we may well find out. I also do worry that even if Antonio did play against Man U, how fit is he going to be? It's not an awful lot of time, is it, really? Let's be fair, to get the ice packs on your hamstrings and all the rest of it. Just to deal with Lingard just quickly, in that he was poor, but I do feel he was very tired. And there were a lot of people praising his fitness after the first game. People were saying he's done so well to keep himself fit all his time at Man United. I'm not saying he was unfit, but there was a difference between fitness and match fit. And you have to wonder how much of that performance against Aston Villa, in terms of his fitness, was him just being high on adrenaline, having been either unavailable because of his own personal circumstances or not selected by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that he was just absolutely thrilled to be on the pitch, and adrenaline got him through. He looked exhausted. He looked like somebody who'd run a marathon a few days before. So I do think the rest will probably do him a bit of good. So I'm not reading anything major into that. I think it was always going to be really hard. He had a fantastic debut, man, and match, and scored 2 goals. He's not going to be that good all the time. And quite frankly, if he was, we'd have a great end to the season, but we'd never be able to afford to buy him. So the truth of Jesse Lingard is probably somewhere in between that Aston Villa game and what we saw against Fulham. And that's going to be perfectly fine, a perfectly functional player. It will be very, very welcome. My other thing that I really wanted to talk about was Fabianski time wasting on 89 minutes. This has possibly infuriated me more than anything. I can take the draw against Fulham. It's an away point, which is always a good thing. I never bought into Sam Allardyce's saying, which was respect the point. I haven't, because I think sometimes and quite frequently you have to go for 3. But I've always felt a point away from home is a good point and not something you should complain about. Now, home and away is slightly different now because you don't have the advantage or the disadvantage of the crowds. But I think possibly come the end of the season, we might well, hopefully, look at this point as not a bad one. So I thought the performance was flat. I thought we just lacked any energy at all, which is fine. Well, it's not fine. It was just wasn't very entertaining. Unfortunately, on that day, on Saturday, you have to get your entertainment somewhere else. When we played against Aston Villa, that was better than a Hollywood blockbuster. That was the most entertaining thing I'd seen all week. This was worse than an episode of Neighbours, let's be fair. No offence to it. Actually, yes, offence to anybody that watches Neighbours. Anyway, so on 89 minutes, Fabianski's time wasting. I'm thinking, why are you time wasting? Why are you doing this? It's crazy. And then he gets booked for time wasting. Now, I know he does often take a long time to throw the ball out, and crikey, it's getting on my nerves. But come on, show a bit of adventure, show a bit of endeavour, because even at that point, I still had a belief that we could win the game, even though I had no evidence from within that game that we could do it. My evidence and my hope came from other games where we've scored late goals and kept on going till the end, and largely due to our fitness, which just wasn't prevalent in this one. All in all, I think, a frustrating game and a tough game, and I do feel that Fulham they were very buzzy. They were all about us, very busy, very, very energetic, playing for their lives, which you understand. And I would have liked us to be sort of, if not playing for our lives, playing for our success, playing for glory. That they were playing for survival, we should have been playing for glory. Maybe we were. Maybe it was just one match too far. And we've seen this. I thought we were very flat against Liverpool. Up for it, tails in the air against, what am I thinking of? Crystal Palace. Very flat against Liverpool. Tails up again against Aston Villa. Maybe we're just at a point where we can only really raise our performance levels sort of once a week. If that's the case, then hopefully we get a raised performance level against Man U through to the next round in the Cup. As I say, look, the world's a happy place. There was one other thing that I was a bit surprised, sort of annoyed me in this game. It was when the substitutions were made and Noble was brought on. Almost immediately, Noble went central and it pushed Jesse Lingard out to the left wing. Now, I am aware that quite late in the game, Jesse Lingard actually won a free kick from left wing, but I didn't want to see him there. I thought he had lots of shots against Aston Villa. He's clearly likely to shoot if he gets a chance. I wanted him in the centre where he was going to get a shot. And I also thought, well, you've pushed him out to the left wing there. And actually, he's far less effective than the guy that was playing on the left wing, which is Saïd Benrahma. Leave him in the middle. Basically, somebody that could have been impactful from the middle was moved out of position for somebody that had no impact as well. I think if it's going that badly, if you want to bring Noble on, all well and good, then I just would have, maybe bring Declan Rice having a bad game. Maybe bring Declan Rice off, bring Noble on in that instance, and just leave Benrahma in, leave Jesse Lingard as central. I just thought it was a weird thing to do. It was a bit like the tail wagging the dog in that sense. Anyway, I've been talking for far too long. I will catch up with you very, very soon.